When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Two-Footed Podcast here on EPL Index. Now, before we kick things off today, I just want to share something with everybody. This episode is brought to you by our partners at Sky Bet. We've teamed up with Sky Bet because they truly understand what it means to be a fan. Sky Bet appreciates the length that people go to support their team in all areas, whether you're a match-going fan or otherwise, and there's just no better fit for us right now than a partnership with the good folks at Sky Bet. So with that said, let's go. What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Tuesday. It is October 22nd. Hope you're all well. How are we pissing through months like this? How is it nearly November? It was Christmas like a week ago. I was complaining about the summer weather like days ago, and now we're almost in November. Apologies for my absence yesterday. I was not feeling well at all, but I feel much better today. It was a very strange thing. I blame my missus. I think it's just entirely her fault. She was also unwell. She was unwell on Sunday, and I just assumed I caught whatever she had, and therefore it's all her fault. She brought home some poison and poisoned me. Right, anyway, last night in the Premier League, we had one game of football, and Nottingham Forest continued their excellent start to the season with a 1-0 win over Crystal Palace. Rolled their luck at times, but at the same time, it felt like Palace were really struggling to break down that back line of Nottingham Forest, which has been so impressive this year. Milenkovic, I think, right now, you'd have to say, given the value, signing of the summer. What do they pay? 12.5, 13 million? He's been magnificent. Murillo is playing out of his mind next to him. Moreno in on loan. I'm not a huge fan. He's playing well. Ola Aina, I have been a long-time fan. He's playing well. The midfield is functioning well. And this is without their two best midfielders, Sangaré and Danilo. So this is very, very impressive. And obviously last night, no Morgan Gibbs-White available either. But I thought Elliot Anderson put in a good shift. The two wingers looked lively. Chris Wood got the winning goal. We'll put a little bit of blame for that on Dean Henderson. But also, I felt like he probably missed the easier chance. The headed chance was probably a much easier for a player like Chris Wood of his aerial ability. That was probably the easier chance, and he'll probably be annoyed that he's missed it. But he does get the winner, and it's the third win of the season for Nottingham Forest. 4 draws, only the 1 defeat. I mean, this is by far the most overachieving team in the league right now. I think that's fair to say. And, you look at the results that they've gotten. A win at Liverpool, that's a bit surprising. But other than that, I mean, what are we shocked by? Not a whole lot, frankly. Not a whole lot. They draw with Bournemouth on the opening day. They go to Southampton and win. They draw with Wolves. They beat Liverpool. That's the shock. They draw away to Brighton. Brighton can be up and down. The loss at home to Fulham is the second most surprising result that they've had this season. Because I don't view them going to Chelsea and getting a draw as a surprise. Because Chelsea, in recent years, have struggled with teams like Forest. And then this win is a very, very good win for them. This is a team that Nuno has put a high emphasis on not conceding goals and relying on the individual talent they have in attack to create those chances, and for Chris Wood or Teo Awoniyi to put them away. I think he'll look for more goals from Elanga as the season goes along, and I think he's got that in his game. We know that Gibbs-White can score goals, though he is primarily a creative force. Hudson-Odoi like Gibbs White, I think more creative than goal scorer, but can get goals. I think they are going to be reliant on Elanga, and whichever of the 9 is playing, it's going to be Wood for the most part, I think. They'll be the goal scorers, the other two will be the creators, and everyone else behind them is there to graft. Now, the fullbacks can add some quality going forward. Moreno, we know, is good on the overlap, but he wants that base of 6 to give them that solid foundation so that they're not having to score 2 goals to get a draw. 2 goals is going to win them a game. That's the mindset he's got them in. And in a lot of games, he'll be hoping that 1 is enough to win a game. But at worst, 1 is enough for a point. I like what I'm seeing from them. As I say, they've got Sanguera out, they've got the Neo out, Gibbs White missed that game. Like, that would be catastrophic for a lot of teams that are expected to finish in the bottom half. Not for Forest right now, and credit to them. And ultimately, the aim is safety. Like, the aim is staying in the division. They're a third of the way there. 39 points is guaranteed survival in the Premier League in 2024-25. And they've got 13 already through 8 games. If you told them you only need to get 26 points from 30 games and you're going to stay up, they would have taken your hand clean off at the wrist. So Forest well on their way to outperforming all expectations. We'll do winners and losers because I don't really want to just go back over all the weekend's games. They were what they were. They've been discussed to death in other places. We'll go winners and losers, and the first winner we're going to go to is Forest for the reasons I've been over. Our next winner there, I'm going to go bias. I'm going to go Liverpool. A lot of talk through the first 7 games. They haven't played anyone yet and yada, yada, yada. Well, Chelsea came in 4th in the league, 6 games unbeaten in the league, best attack in the league, and Liverpool shut them down. They created very, very little in the game. And Liverpool beat them without ever really getting out of second gear. There are many levels of this Liverpool team to go up. And it felt like Chelsea, particularly in that midfield area, were performing about as well as they're capable of. Liverpool were denied 2 pretty clear penalties. Chelsea will claim they were denied 1. Either way, wouldn't have made any difference. I think that's a big win for Liverpool. That's now 2 of the other big 6 who've played Liverpool this year. Liverpool haven't really needed to be at their best, and yet they've won both games. They showed character in this game to go ahead, get pegged back, and then go and score immediately. Same thing they did against Wolves. And to have 7 wins from 8 games under a new manager and only conceding 3 goals, I think Liverpool have to be thrilled with how things are going. The other reason I think Liverpool are winners, and I think a lot of the dismissal of, well, they haven't played anyone yet, gets put to bed, is the fact that Liverpool beat Bournemouth 3-0 at Anfield earlier this season. And our second winner this weekend is Bournemouth, who beat Arsenal 2-0. Now, Arsenal fans will hide behind the red card, but you were getting outplayed before the red card. Bournemouth were the better team, the more attack-minded, the more ambitious team in the game. And what a great win for Andoni Iraola and his team. Like, make no mistake, that Arsenal team is a good team. They're going to be in the title picture this season. There's no question. But now, Bournemouth can look at it and say, look, we went to Anfield, we lost, but we did play well, and we probably should have scored a couple of goals. And now we've played Chelsea at home, and we outplayed them comprehensively, and we should have won that game. And now we have beaten Arsenal. And they can be very, very happy with that. It was a great performance. I thought Semenyo was just unstoppable. Didn't think Arsenal could deal with him at all. And I thought, ultimately, 2-0 almost flattered Arsenal a little bit. Our third winner, we're going to go Leicester City. You're 2-0 down away from home. You come back to win 3-2. It's got to be you. It's got to be you. That's the perfect response from them, having gone 2-down. And the way they win it as well, it's the corner routine I've been talking about on this podcast for a couple of years. It's the Anderton-Sheringham corner from Spurs back in the 90s, where you get a cluster of players on the edge of the box, all bar one breaks and makes a run towards goal. That one player takes 2 steps back, the corner is pulled back out to them, and the other players that have made the run act as blockers, and they obscure the vision of the goalkeeper. And this was very clearly a case where the goalkeeper's vision was obscured, because it's not a well-struck shot from AU, but because the goalkeeper cannot lean, can't step, can't do anything until he gets sight of the ball, and doesn't get sight of it until late, it beats him. I was so happy to see that goal scored. So Leicester City are our third winner. Our losers, we're going to start with Arsenal. Arsenal were losers the minute the team sheets went in. I've never... Now, look, I'm old, right? I've been watching the Premier League since day one, and I've got a pretty good memory. I have never, ever seen a team in October, right, whatever about the end of the season, where you might be in a situation where you've got 2 games left and you need 4 points to win the league. So you think, okay, we'll draw the away one and we'll win the home one. I have never seen a team in October who are predicted to challenge for the title go away to a team who, with all respect, and I have tons of respect for Bournemouth, both football club and football team, their ceiling is 9th. I've never seen a title challenger go to a mid-table team and rock up with 4 centre-backs and 3 defensive midfielders. Mikel Moreno is not an attacking midfielder. Has never been an attacking midfielder. He's a deep-lying player and always has been. Always has been. From when he was at Newcastle to when he was at Dortmund, and his entire time playing with Real Sociedad, he sits in nice and deep. He might play a little bit ahead of Zubimendi, but he's not there because he's some attacking genius. He's there as a link. But his mindset is always to get behind the ball. He's a defensive-minded player. Declan Rice is a ball winner. That's his primary skill set. And Thomas Partey is an out-and-out 6. If you were looking at this Arsenal team, and if Partey wasn't there, Moreno was the ideal one to step in for him, which tells you what type of player he is. And Rice's primary skill set is as a ball winner. You're going to Bournemouth with 4 centre-backs and 3 defensive midfielders. And when one of your centre-backs was sent off, rather than show any kind of bravery, you take off a winger and you bring on another centre-back. Like, the closest thing you even have to an attacking midfielder is your number 9. You lined up with 4 centre-backs, 3 defensive-minded midfielders, 1 attacking midfielder, and 2 wingers. That was your team. And when one centre-back gets sent off, you sacrificed a winger to bring on another centre-back. You couldn't have just gone 4-4-1. You couldn't have taken off, let's just say... Well, you wouldn't need to take anything off. Why wouldn't you just have gone Partey to right back, Ben White in the middle next to Gabriel, with Calafiori on the left, and then Sterling right, Martinelli left, Moreno and Rice as a double pivot, and Havertz up front. Why wouldn't you have done that? Mikel Arteta is not beating the allegations anytime soon. The man is a footballing terrorist. He has spent 700 million on a project of cowardice. There was no ambition in that man. There was no ambition in how his team plays football. They're entirely reliant on set pieces when they don't have the brilliance of Odegaard or Saka. And even when they have Odegaard or Saka rather than Odegaard and Saka, they're very, very stodgy. Very, very stodgy. This is not a team that is very well coached from a creative, expressive, attacking point of view. They're pretty well drilled defensively. It's pretty easy to drill defensively when you're lining up with 7 defensive-minded players away to Bournemouth in October. Our next loser, it's got to be West Ham. Just has to be West Ham. Did anybody see the collapse of West Ham's defensive structure? It was comedic, calamitous. I genuinely haven't seen anything like that in the Premier League in a long time. Even Sheffield United last year didn't just fall asunder the way they did for about 8 minutes. They could have conceded 4 goals in just 8 minutes. Absolutely horrific stuff. And I would imagine some uncomfortable conversations are taking place at West Ham today. Last one then will be Southampton. I mean, you're 2-0 up away. You're 2-0 up at home, and you throw it away. Like, Russell Martin, I'm sorry, but you're not a Premier League caliber manager at this point. I think you might be in the future. You're not now. You're just not now. I'll be back after the break. We will be looking at what took place in the EFL over the weekend. See you in a sec. Right, welcome back. So as you will have heard before today's show began, we are brought to you today by our good friends at Sky Bet. So let's get into the Sky Bet EFL Championship. We kicked off Friday night with Leeds United 2, Sheffield United 0. Pascal Struijk and Matteo Joseph with the goals for Leeds. It's a big win for them against a Sheffield United team that started the season really well in a Yorkshire derby. Always good. Cardiff City 5. Plymouth 0. Cardiff City went into that game bottom of the table without a manager and absolutely wiped the floor with Wayne Rooney's Plymouth. Admittedly, Rooney banned from the touchline. Alex Robertson and Ruben Colwill put Cardiff 2-0 up. Ibrahim Sissoko was sent off for Plymouth just before half-time. Anwar El Ghazi, the legend that he is, Callum Robinson and Chris Willock, brother of Joe, with the goals to give Cardiff a great and much-needed win. Luton Town 3, Watford 0. Speaking of much-needed wins, this is huge. Jordan Clark, Carlton Morris and Jacob Brown in stoppage time. Luton have had a disastrous start to the season. A lot of pressure on Rob Edwards. This will alleviate some of that. And also, it's a local rivalry, and for Edwards himself, it's the club that gave up on him so quickly. Big, big win for Luton Town. Preston North End 1, Coventry 0. Jakobsen with the only goal of the game. Coventry's bad start to the season continues, but that's a great win for Preston. Oxford 1, West Brom 1. This is a good point for Oxford. Carlin Grant had put West Brom 1 up, but Dane Scarlett in late stoppage time with the equaliser. He's in on loan from Spurs, if I'm not mistaken. Stoke City 1, Norwich 1. This was a fairly dull game up until just before half-time. Andy Cernick with the opener for Norwich on 45. And then 6 minutes into first half stoppage time, Million Manhoff equalises for Stoke. Cracking end to a half. QPR 1, Portsmouth 2. QPR have had a really bad start this season. Karamoko Dembele, you might remember him as the little kid that broke through at Celtic when he was about 9. He was about 16. But he put QPR 1 up. But Freddie Potts equalised on 18, and Callum Lang from the penalty spot give Portsmouth a good win away from home. Middlesbrough 0, Barnsley 2. Great win for Barnsley on the road. Bristol City. Middlesbrough 0, Bristol City 2. No, I thought it was Barnsley. Great win for Bristol City on the road. Borough's form is just very hard to predict. They had all of the ball. They had all of the shots. They couldn't get anything on target. 2 out of 20 on target. Mehmeti and Hirakawa with the goals for Bristol, who'll be delighted with that win. That's a long old trip up to Borough. Sheffield Wednesday 0, Burnley 2. Jaden Anthony and Josh Brownhill with the goals for Burnley. Blackburn Rovers 1, Swansea 0. Tyrese Dolan with the goal. Millwall 1, Derby County 1. Jerry Yates put Derby 1 up on 78. Mihailo Ivanovic equalised on 85. And our final game then was Hull City 0. Sunderland 1. Wilson Isider with the only goal of the game. That's a good win for Sunderland to keep up their strong start and retake top spot in the division. They have 22 points. Burnley have 21. Then it's Leeds and Sheffield United on 19. West Brom and Blackburn on 18. That makes up the playoff spots. Then we get Norwich and Watford on 16. Middlesbrough and Bristol City on 14. Oxford United and Derby on 13. Swansea, Hull and Preston all have 12. Stoke, Luton, Sheffield Wednesday and Plymouth have 11. Millwall have 10. Coventry have 8. Most disappointing team in the division. Cardiff also 8. Portsmouth also 8. And then QPR with 7. So Portsmouth and Cardiff with great wins this weekend to lift themselves above QPR. Like I say, QPR's start has been really, really poor. You would hope that turns around, because I do like QPR. They're a club I always keep an eye on. But that is the Championship. In the League One over the weekend, Shrewsbury 0, Exeter City 2, Wycombe 3, Peterborough 1, Reading 4, Crawley 1, Blackpool 1, Barnsley 2. Not sure why I thought Barnsley were a division higher than they are. Cambridge 2, Wigan 0, Mansfield 0, Stevenage 1, Huddersfield 3, Bristol Rovers 1, Charlton 1, Stockport 1, Rotherham 0, Wrexham 1, good win for Wrexham away, Northampton Town 1, Leyton Orient 0, Bolton 2, Burton 1, and then Lincoln City 1, big spending, Birmingham 3. Birmingham remain top of the league. They are 2 points ahead of Wrexham with a game in hand. So they've got 25 from 10 games. Wrexham have 23 from 11. Wycombe and Mansfield both have 20 from 10. Exeter have 19 from 10. Huddersfield have 18 from 11. Lincoln have 18 from 10. And Barnsley have 18 from 11. Stockport 17 from 10. Stevenage 17 from 11. Bolton 17 from 10. And Charlton 17 from 11. Then you've got Reading with 16 from 10. Blackpool 15 from 11. Horrible news over the weekend that Steve Bruce's grandson, who I think was 4, am I right about that, had passed away. Absolutely. 4 months. Oh, that's even... Yeah. Madison. 4-month-old grandson, Madison. Absolutely horrific. That poor family. Thoughts with everybody in the Bruce family. And poor Madison, rest in peace. That's always just... Anytime you see a baby die or any child, no parent should ever have to bury their own child. It's the worst thing imaginable. Blackpool 15 from 11, Peterborough 15 from 12, Rotherham 14 from 12, Wigan 13 from 11, Bristol 13 from 11, Bristol Rovers that is, Northampton 11 from 10, Leyton Orient 8 from 11, Shrewsbury 8 from 12, Crawley 7 from 11, 5 wins, 5 straight defeats, Cambridge 4 from 10, but dragged themselves off the foot of the table with their win over Wigan. And then Burton Albion, the only side yet to win a game, 4 points from 10 games, 5 straight defeats. It's shaping up to be quite the Royal Rumble at the bottom of the table. Let's move on then to the EFL League 2. Newport County 0, Chesterfield 3, Accrington Stanley 1, Barrow 0, Port Vale 3, Fleetwood 1, Notts County 1, AFC Wimbledon 0, Colchester 1, Cheltenham 2, Swindon 1, Doncaster 2, Carlisle 1, Harrogate Town 1, Bradford 2, Gillingham 1, Grimsby 1, Walsall 4, Bromley 1, Tranmere 2, Crewe 1, Salford 1, Morecambe 1, MK Dons 3. The league table has Port Vale top, 24 points from 12 games. Doncaster, 23 points from 12 games. Walsall, 22 points from 11 games. Notts County, 22 from 12. Bradford, 21 from 12. Gillingham, 19 from 12. They've lost 4 straight, though. Barrow, 19 from 12. They've lost 4 of 5. Chesterfield, 18 from 12. Crewe, 18 from 11. Grimsby, 18 from 12. AFC Wimbledon, 16 from 9. So still well in control of their own fate, but that defeat at the weekend is a setback. Fleetwood, 16 from 10. MK Dons, 15 from 12. Harrogate, 15 from 12. Newport, 15 from 12. Tranmere, 14 from 11. Cheltenham, 13 from 12. Salford, 13 from 11. Accrington Stanley, 12 from 11. Colchester, 11 from 11. Swindon Town, 11 from 12. Bromley have 10 from 11. Carlisle have 8 from 12. And Morecambe, 7 points from their 12 games. And that is how the EFL shaped up over the weekend. And of course, what we must also do is we must also check in on Inverness Caledonian Thistle, who got a win at the weekend. 1-0 over Annan Athletic. Danny Devine with the only goal of the game. Huge win for Big Dunk and co. Moves them to the heady heights of 7th in the table. It's only their second win from 10 all season. 7 goals scored, 7 goals conceded. Big Dunk on a mission to bore the life out of everybody who watches the Scottish League One. And to update the managerial statistics at Inverness, it's now 53 games, 17 wins, 20 draws, 16 defeats. More wins than defeats for the first time in his life. 32.08% win rate. For the career, it's 75 games, 19 wins, 25 draws, and 31 defeats, 25.33 win rate. So congrats to Big Dunk on a heroic victory over mighty Annan Athletic, who are 9th in the division. Up next for our intrepid adventurer is a trip to Dumbarton. If we take a quick gander at the table, Dumbarton are bottom. So big chance for Big Dunk to secure back-to-back wins in the league, which, as you know, would be quite the historic achievement and might well lead to Big Dunk knighting himself for his great achievements and services to the game. Then it's Kelty Hearts at home, Cove Rangers away, Alloa Athletic at home, and then Queen of the South away. That's Big Dunk's next 5. Right, we will go to break. come back and take a look at what's taking place tonight in the Champions League. See you in a sec. Right, welcome back. We have 9 games in the Champions League tonight. We have 2 at 5:45 UK and 7 then at 8 p.m. So the 5:45 games, Monaco take on Red Star Belgrade. Now, Red Star have lost both games thus far, whereas Monaco, it's 1 win and 1 draw, 4 points. That's a solid start for them. The other game then is AC Milan hosting Club Brugge. AC Milan have also lost both games so far, whereas Club Brugge, 1 win, 1 defeat. They won last time out, and they won't have much fear going there. They really won't have much fear going there. But Milan and their manager, Mr. Fonseca, they might have a bit of concern because 3 straight defeats in the Champions League would leave them with a bit of a mountain to climb. Now, they did win at the weekend. They beat Udinese by 1-0. They're up to 4th in Serie A, but it hasn't been an impressive start for them in the league. They've already lost 4 games this season between the league and the Champions League, and that's not good for them, for a club that has those expectations. And they spent big in the summer. They expect to go and, over the last couple of summers, I should say, they expect to go and win at least Serie A this year. But they think they're going to make waves in the Champions League. Moving on to our 8 p.m. kickoffs. So let's start Arsenal versus Shakhtar Donetsk. Arsenal, 1 win, 1 draw. Obviously beat PSG last time out. They take on Shakhtar, a Shakhtar team that is not carrying the same threat of Shakhtar teams of old. 1 point for Shakhtar from their 2 games thus far. They were beaten last time out. Juventus take on Stuttgart. Now, Stuttgart, one of the surprise packages last season, and nobody expected them to qualify for the Champions League. Thus far, they have lost 1 and drawn 1, whereas Juventus have won both of their games. A little bit of fortune about the Leipzig game, but they've won both of their games, and they'll be quite happy with that. Sturm Graz take on Sporting. Sporting have a win and a draw. Sturm Graz have lost both games. Real Madrid take on Borussia Dortmund in what I think is the game of the night. Real don't look as impressive as they were expected to, and they won 1 and lost 1 thus far in the groups. I think a lot of people thought Real were just going to wipe the floor. I thought, they'd be fairly dominant this year, and I still expect that they will go on and win La Liga quite comfortably. At the moment, they sit second, but I do expect that they'll go on and win La Liga. They're 3 points behind Barca, but they are unbeaten in the league. I don't think what we're seeing from Barca is all that sustainable. I still think there's many levels for Mbappe and Jude Bellingham, who's struggling so far, and Vinicius Jr. to all kick up their game. So I think that'll settle itself down. But Dortmund, they've been unbelievably good in the Champions League thus far. Obviously, they hammered Celtic, which, was expected. But 10 goals through their first 2 games, only 1 conceded. They did go to Bruges in their opening game and win that one 3-0. They have been pumped this season themselves by Stuttgart, and they are 7th in the Bundesliga, but they've started the Champions League really well. This should be a good game. PSG versus PSV is our next one. PSG obviously lost to Arsenal last time out. It's a win and a defeat for them. For PSV, it is a draw and a defeat thus far. Girona against Slovan Bratislava. Now, both of these teams have lost both of their opening games. Girona, like Stuttgart, nobody thought they'd be a Champions League team. But here they are. This is a big opportunity for them to get their first Champions League win, and what an occasion that would be. And then Aston Villa versus Bologna. Villa have started the season very, very well. 2 wins from 2 in the Champions League. I think they're 4th in the Premier League right now. no goals conceded in the Champions League. They take on Bologna. Bologna have a draw and a defeat. They lost to Liverpool last time out. In their prior game, they drew at home with Shakhtar, one that they'll be a bit disappointed by, and one they were lucky in because Sudikov missed a penalty in that one. So that's what we have tonight, folks. That is our slate. Monaco, Red Star, and Milan Club Brugge, and then Arsenal, Shakhtar, Juve, Stuttgart, Sturm Graz, Sporting, Real Madrid, Dortmund, PSG versus PSV, Girona against Slovan Bratislava, and Aston Villa versus Bologna. It's not the strongest, to be fair. Whereas I look at tomorrow night's games, and there's a couple that really interest me. Notably, obviously, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. That's a true clash of European titans. But, Benfica, Feyenoord is interesting to me as well. And Atalanta, Celtic in the early game. And Brest against Leverkusen would be good. I think tomorrow night is a better night. But that's it. That's all I have for this part of the show. I will be back later with Two Footed Extra. So until then, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Right, this show was brought to you by Sky Bet, as you heard at the start of today's show. We want to thank them for their continued support. And as always, to get involved with Sky Bet, you need to be over 18. And if you have questions or queries or problems with gambling, visit begambleaware.org and stay safe. Bye-bye.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.